Whoa, what happened there?
You got hit by the tentacle.
Oh,
It flew.
Yeah, that one might not have been so bad for
Yeah.
I know.
use a tentacle to launch yourself to it.
You got crushed by a smooth tentacle.
How long have you been sitting on that?
It just came to me.
Nice.
That was good.
Aw,
That was good.
Harry.
That was some of your best work, Bucket.
Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the show that is getting in the way of me trying to play Fire Emblem Three Houses. As of this recording, I have a game, and I'm trying to decide which house I want to play as. I can't really decide. I don't know if I want to play as like the Atreides, the Ordos, or the Harkonnen. I just can't decide, but I think Harkonnen have nukes, right? Anyway, back to reality. Hi, let's give thanks, all right? Let's give thanks to the wonderful patrons and subscribers whose real cash money contributions make it possible for me to afford coffee and to provide you with content. And Bob. A very special thanks to our newest patrons, Russell and Kumar. Thank you very much. You guys are great, and I hope to announce many more names in the future. As for the rest of you folks, all of you are awesome. I love you. Thanks for coming, and let's just get started. The world first race, it just might be over by the time you watch this, but that is okay. As of this writing, the world first race is still going on. Method is still camping the studio run by Take TV over in Germany, while Limit has been in the Red Bull gaming sphere in England. I'm sure it smells hella good in there. More than 10 guilds are facing off against Queen Ashara on Mythic, making this one of the closest world first races in recent memory, or maybe in hindsight it'll be one of the most overtuned and buggy, thanks to specific nerfs that have allowed the competition to catch up. Sometimes when you're on the road, when people are like cutting each other off, they're doing their very best so they can get like one car ahead of the one in front of them because it's going to get them to work that much faster, but then minutes later you're all going to find yourselves stuck behind the same red light. Yeah. Welcome to the world first race. But this story isn't just about the race, it's also about the hype that continues to be generated around what some would like to call a literally dead game. Sure, there's a link on the Battle.net launcher to direct you to the streams that you want to watch, but at its core, the race to world first is still self-managed by the top guilds who allow themselves to be seen. Here are some super fun and exciting Twitch facts. Because Twitch numbers are more accurate than WoW census. This is a metric of just how many viewers are watching somebody playing the World of Warcraft since a little bit before Battle for Azeroth launched. We can also easily identify what happened in the World of Warcraft based on some of the other peaks in viewership that we see here. Follow along, folks, and check out the arrow. Over here is the launch of Biffa with nearly 600,000 viewers at peak, and then it all went downhill from there. Over here is the beginning of Season 1, and the rise here indicates the first publicly streamed World First race, which Method broadcasted. The peaks that you see here are the moments just before Method got World First. The next major milestone is around the end of the first day of BlizzCon 2018, when it was revealed to us that, oh my goodness, we have mobile phones. This is followed by a lull in noteworthy content until here in early February, when the Season 2 World First race began. Once again, streamed by Method. Where's my favorite raid? You mean Crucible? Yes. Why is it your favorite? Because the room where the last boss is? It looks like a woman's... Notice that there's nothing to be seen here. Absolutely nothing noteworthy. Crucible coverage was pretty meh. And also note that it was the EU Guild Pieces who snaked the #1 spot. It's kind of interesting to see barely a blip on viewership numbers here, which communicates to Blizzard, well, maybe it gives them pause on whether they should ever do a mid-season raid ever again. Or you can make up whatever the heck narrative you want. I heard it's because everyone was playing the new Toe Jam and Earl game that was out in March. That's, it's real gaming. Mid-May is when the WoW Classic beta began, obviously bringing loads of viewers, but more importantly, many of Twitch's more prolific streamers and their viewers. They brought in some much-wanted hype, until the excitement gave way to a smoldering anticipation for August 27th, which is approximately a month from this broadcast. But late June brought us patch 8.2 of BFA. A few weeks later, the start of Season 3, 1 week after that, the Mythic World First race began, and here we are today. Welcome back. This leads me to kind of wonder out loud to myself. Let me share this thought. So we got Method we've got Limit, we've got these sponsors and partners that are hosting these top guilds at certain venues. You have commentators and casters being flown out from all over the world to provide coverage of their progression as well as other top guilds. But while historically the World First race has had an average runtime, it doesn't have a time limit. Like, what if this race or a future race happens to take too long? In fact, what does too long even mean? Is it the point where the raid members have to return to their regular jobs because that's the reality that they face? Is it when the sponsors and the venues and the commentators just get way too burnt out to continue? Because you gotta remember, many of these events participants aren't fully sponsored career athletes or professionals with a regular salary. Speaking to this race or any other race to World First, is it Blizzard's fault if the first kill takes too long to complete? Or is it the fault of those who are trying to monetize the race, who are just kind of taking the gamble that Blizzard is always going to tune a raid to be completed in about a week or so? Because if Blizzard wanted to, they can go back to the old practice of literally time gating raids, like they did with Trial of the Crusader, which was one boss that was released each week. How exciting would that be? Or like Icecrown Citadel, where the different wings were released over the course of 2 months. That would definitely ruin the whole idea of the World First race, at least as we know it. Or they can even bring back the notion of limited attempts. You remember that? Actually, that'd be pretty dramatic to see on a stream, like, hey guys, this is the final pull of the night. Let's do this, boys. We're gonna get this, and if not, then I guess we're gonna go home for the rest of the week. All right. Oh, we wiped. Crap. So there's a question if Blizzard is at all influenced by this idea. Are they in their own way encouraging the World First race makeup as it is by making it just long enough to allow it to be a spectator event? And if so, would Blizzard listen if guilds like Method or Limit complained that they were running into walls that weren't just oversights or bugs, but that it was by design, that Blizzard just designed a raid that was, quote, too long to complete? I have a slight concern about that because I don't want WoW to be designed around being a competitive esport. Yeah, because they have never done anything of that sort until now. I get it. WoW arenas, those tournaments, and more recently the Mythic Dungeon Invitational, they're definitely a thing, and it's something that Blizzard sanctions and supports. They play a direct role in it. But World First is different. The World First race doesn't use a very super special World First server, and it doesn't fly guilds out to Blizzard Studios to host it on stream, or worse, in front of a live audience. Imagine being stuck in the Blizzard studio, or Take TV Studios, or the Red Bull Gaming Sphere thing for like 10 or so days. It would smell freaking amazing. But we don't have that. Instead, Blizzard lifts certain barriers. They don't have hard raid requirements like attunements, magic resistance, or things like that. It's just kind of a straight line to the end, and all you need is the skills, the best team, and the best gear that you can get a hold of before the race begins. And a finely tuned boss. Yes. But I'd like to hear your toilet thoughts on the subject. Like, if the best guilds do have this kind of invisible grasp of how the overall pacing of raids in the World of Warcraft goes for all players. So let's move on. A recent article on Wowhead refers to indicators that an 825 build could be coming soon. Hey Soul, I just found out that time moves forward. It's crazy. We know that we'd start seeing 825 content at some point. It's just a matter of when, really. According to people who monitor these sorts of things, WoW's content delivery network revealed an encrypted build of the 825 PTR, but we can't see a darn thing. With the World First race hopefully wrapping up soon, or maybe already wrapped up and my timing is crap, we can expect the first build to be available as early as this coming week, revealing all the juicy story bits that will eventually take us to 8.3 with I have no idea what's coming in 8.3. Something old gods. Who cares about Bifasol? It's done. It's literally a dead game. Let's look at the new Shadowlands expansion that's coming. Shadowlands? Really? Yeah, the elite hacker Fortune said so. Did you say 4chan? No, I said Fortune. What? And with that, folks, it's time. It's time for the What of the Week, where I shake my head at the ridiculousness of the WoW community, and then I talk as if I'm better than them, setting myself for an unbelievable and impressive takedown in the comments. I just can't wait. This past month or so has been riddled with so-called leaks and reveals, these announcements from people who are close to Blizzard, who got fired from Blizzard, or who know or are related to someone who works at Blizzard or got fired from Blizzard. Don't forget the etceteras too. Rumors are not a new thing in human history, let alone the WoW community, especially in the months that are leading up to a BlizzCon when a new WoW expansion is expected to be announced. It seems like this year especially, despite 8.2 and Season 3 delivering what I think, beware, what I think is an objective thumbs up after BFA's troubled start, people are still ready to move on. Interest in the next big thing, aside from World of Warcraft Classic, of course, is at a high. It's a lot of fun to see this sort of energy. Man, I hate leaks, though. And so the What of the Week isn't directed towards anyone specific, but it's just this sudden explosion of these so-called secret leaks of what's coming next. Like, what? This stuff has been trending enough to get into the radar of folks like Pyromancer and Belluar and other folks because, well, it's trending. That makes money. I really can't blame them for that. Thankfully, the likes of Reddit and MMO Champion have done a reasonable job of smashing these obviously fake leaks whenever they're found. Unfortunately, some of them do end up taking off and start to grow a life of their own, such as Illithis. I like Illithis.
You know what else would be cool? Arthedain.
I like Arthedain too. The most prominent of them so far is World of Warcraft Shadowlands, shown here in a sort of screenshot of a world map concept. It's also followed up with some details of what's to come, the new class, major features that you're going to see or not see, plot points, and more that really I'm not going to show you. There's really no point. Fake leaks are like this wondrous chemical formula comprised of the greatest hits from the WoW subreddit, MMO Champion, as well as like your favorite content creators' most popular ideas. Underlining that point, nothing that I ever talk about shows up on these leaks, which, you know, kind of tells me a lot. There's no Guildfinder 2.0, there's no player housing, no party AI, no profession/leveling revamp.
Maybe you should come back when you're popular.
Your mother's popular.
Popular enough to have me.
You're adopted, you know that?
Wow.
Fake leaks are one part wish list. It's one part speculation, and the rest of it's a lie. I'll get to more on that in a little bit, but first let's just debunk this particular one and get it out of the way. I mean, it looks plausible. Our plucky heroes of Azeroth are traveling to the realm of the dead for, transmog, mounts, you know, the important stuff. It's the logo, guys, girls, others. It's the thing meant to give this leak credibility that entirely destroys said attempt at credibility. The logo seems pretty well crafted. It has a certain custom brushing on the font and some personality on the border. So what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it is that it's covering part of the map. When you're trying to present an internal document, you don't slap a big-ass logo on the piece of the map. That's an affront to the Isles of the logo, because as far as I know, that's what it is, because it's right on top of it. But maybe the placement of this logo doesn't convince you. That's fine. Let's dig a little bit deeper. The fonts used to describe these locations, isn't it kind of weird that it sits on top of this soft watermark to lend, I don't know, I mean, I guess this watermark is meant to lend more credibility that this is an internal document, not to mention the odd usage of multiple font types. And there's also mention of these two bodies of water. I don't find that to be very characteristic of a dev team to name locations of water that really don't matter, but hey, to be fair, they might be used. It just doesn't seem likely. If you're still not convinced, well, here's a side-by-side comparison to an actual fan-made expansion seen over on MMO Champion and Reddit a number of years ago. It looks kind of familiar, right? It almost makes this leak look pretty, well, not inspiring. Fake leaks are not dangerous because they generate excitement. They're dangerous because it gets people excited about an end result that isn't going to come because it's predicated on a lie. By reading and addressing these alleged leaks in a what if, sort of mindset, it keeps it alive. you validate them, and then it plants a seed in people's heads. There are expectations that might be fulfilled if parts of these leaks turn out to be true. If you spout out enough bullet points, you just might hit the mark in a couple of places, but the hope of that doesn't give these sorts of leaks any credibility. And in the aftermath, we create a situation where we risk disappointing ourselves. Speculation, which is something that I very much do on this channel, is something that we can get lost in only to come out disappointed. I can think of more than a few shows where the speculation has become more exciting than the show itself. In this case, though, we're getting lost in the hubbub born not out of these little tiny breadcrumbs that we've pieced together from quotes or pictures, cutscenes, and other evidence. It's based on a doctored screenshot that we don't know is real. It's a little bit over 3 months until BlizzCon. Now, if history is any indicator, we're going to see more and more leaks in the months leading up to November, so if you jumped on this whole leak train, you're in for a long-ass ride. But here's some advice. There's a time frame when credible information has a much higher likelihood of making its way to the surface. Blizzard's cracks in the armor, or the vulnerabilities that let information come out, they don't really come from its offices per se, but more so their partners' offices. When information starts to get out to manufacturers for things like marketing materials, legal stuff, retail and commerce, the people who are going to make the shirts that the developers and whatnot are going to wear at this coming year's BlizzCon, keep an eye on that. But more importantly, remain skeptic and keep as much of the emotion out of it as you can. Before even that though, keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks or so as we get 8.25 information. At the moment, we have too little and too much information to work with when it comes to trying to predict what's going to happen soon, because there's a lot of characters and a lot of plot threads that were introduced throughout BFA, so it's hard to tell what's coming down the pipe and what's just going to be put on the shelf for another time. Personally, and this prediction of mine is like really tame, I'm pretty sure that dragons are in the horizon. We've had our share of Wrathion cameos in Warlords of Draenor and in the Chromie scenario during Legion, but there's clearly this not-so-hidden presence that we're seeing from the Black Prince that's been happening as recently as this patch. All this buildup, though, might not amount to anything until after the final raid is completed. But given the time frame that we're at now, I've got to wonder, is there going to be a patch 8.3.5 at all? We're going to explore that real quick, and I'm going to fire off some patch date predictions, really rough estimates and just guesses here, so strap in. Patch 8.25, which I think is going to drive some bigger story beats than we might think initially. I think it's going to be here around early to mid-October. Remember that patch 8.15 managed to fit a small raid in there, so it's not going to surprise me if that level of production going into 8.25 is going to translate into either a lot to do in the patch, a lot to reveal, or a lot of both. Patch 8.3 is probably going to be talked about before BlizzCon. I predict that Blizzard is going to send Jeremy Fiesel to repeat the success of his 8.2 reveal in a rehearsed, non-Q&A presentation. However, nothing about 8.3 is going to be testable until at or after BlizzCon, but probably after. During BlizzCon, Blizzard is likely to just kind of brush on patch 8.3. They want to save their breath for talking about the new expansion. But with that in mind, now that we're at November and 8.3 hasn't even hit the PTR yet, when is it going to come out? My guess, early January 2020. Blizzard knows that it made a boo-boo when it released patch 8.1 before the holiday season, because we had to wait well over a month to start Season 2, and that left us pretty confused and pissed off. I think Blizzard learned from that, and they didn't have players wait very long at all between patch 8.2 and Season 3. It was only 2 weeks, and I think they want to repeat that again. Patch 7.35, which was Legion's final patch, released January 16th, 2018, before Blizzard went all in with development for Battle for Azeroth. Given that sort of time frame and the likelihood that Blizzard wants to release their new expansion before BlizzCon 2020, which happens in the first week of November, the content in patch 8.3 is going to feel like patch 8.3 and 8.35 all smushed together, giving us the final raid, the final season, probably 2 allied race unlocks, and over time, the release of maybe some minor features and plot points that'll take us all the way to the 9.0 pre-patch. The Shadowlands, the Dragon Isles, or whatever. That's the show. It's kind of nice this week that I didn't have to talk about like the drama between content creators and other small e-celebs, as some people would say. But instead talk about things I like game design, cool ideas, things that could potentially improve the game that I enjoy playing.
Armchair game design.
Yes, armchair game design. I'm glad you thought of that. That's brilliant. Unfortunately, they don't do such a great job of paying the bills, which is why in order to keep making the content I actually want to make, sometimes I gotta go with the flow, right? And give my hot take on the trending news. So for those of you who just didn't enjoy that kind of content, I do apologize, but sometimes I gotta do things to keep things going. And I do this more often than I want to, but I gotta remind you that your support for the channel isn't just important, it is what literally keeps me going. So watching, being subscribed, liking and sharing the videos, leaving kind comments or feedback goes a very, very long way towards getting those YouTube overlords to notice me. Being a patron, a donator, or a Twitch subscriber, it doesn't just make sure the coffee mug stays filled, but it also helps to support the kind of message that I want to send, which is to celebrate love and feedback, which is not the whole rage-filled shout fest that you might be used to seeing these days. I think I've got something good here. I think we have got something good here. All right, fam. I want it to thrive, and I want to get you to be excited helping it thrive too.
I want to thrive too.
Yeah, how about you stick your finger in a power socket?
Ooh, that's a great idea.
So stay tuned next week for more violence and shenanigans. Thanks for being awesome, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.